my favorite part about my job is I get to incorporate my natural talents for drawing and photography and design, and I get paid for it. So.
Awesome, awesome. Well, today we're gonna talk about some ethical issues, and during this interview we are going to discuss an ethical issue that Mr. Fuyan here has encountered in his illustrious career. So I will go start with Phelan, describe an ethical issue you have encountered in your career thus far.
I mean, an ethical issue that I constantly am confronted with is being an ethical issue that I'm constantly confronted with is to cite sources and individuals that have worked on a project. So if, say, we'd had some photography done by an outside source, or someone else was directing me in my design work, they would have to be included.
Can you recall a certain event where this was most relevant? Was there an incident or anything where there was a photographer and maybe there was a crediting issue?
Yes, on my website I have to list whoever was involved, and there was a photographer in Omaha that did some work for us, and I had to be sure to include him.
How do you and others around you handle this issue of crediting outside sources?
We just have to make sure all our information is accurate, that no one is left out.
What are some ramifications if they are let out?
Well, your reputation is closely associated to that, and if you're not crediting your people that have put in the time and effort on the work, then you'll look bad.
And we've discussed the outcome, I guess, that you did go ahead and credit the photographer on your website design.
That's correct.
One of the questions is, what was the outcome, and how do you feel about the outcome? Do you feel, is there a point where you feel that there's too much credit being handed out to outside sources? Or, I mean, being a photographer yourself, you would want credit if your picture appeared somewhere, which you have many beautiful pictures. How would you feel if you weren't given credit for a photograph or a photo that you had taken and it appears somewhere?
Well, that's your bread and butter. So whenever someone's using a piece of yours, a photographer's work is his bread and butter. So whenever you don't cite him, you're essentially stealing. Yeah. God, I'm terrible at this.
You're good. You're good. You're doing well. You're gonna be amazed by how this comes out. Trust me. I'm gonna have the nice little white underneath. It's gonna say Phelan Fuyan, Master Baiter.
Awesome.
And I'm guessing this is an issue that comes up quite a bit in your job. So another question is, if this issue would arise again, would you handle it the same way? If not, what would you do differently? I think the real question here is, have you ever had an instance where you've got a call from a photographer that his work was left out or his name was left out? And if so, what happened? Or if it hasn't happened, in that instance, if it did, how would it be handled?
Well, if someone wasn't credited, we would immediately recheck and and cite them as soon as possible.
And how would you fix that error?
Well, we would cite them and be certain to include them in a future. Hell, I don't know.
See, if you run a publication and it's printed,
Right.
you have, and I'm sure everything is checked, but if for some reason it would sneak by, how would that grievance be fixed? I mean, you wouldn't be pulling your pamphlets off the shelves.
Right.
How would you go about? And if you don't know, it's cool too. We'll
Yeah.
just make something up too. It's good too.
Yeah. Well, it never really comes up. We've always cited. Who does our work for us. And it's never come up specifically for me.
On a scale of 1 to 3, how important are ethics in your line of work? 1 meaning low, 2 meaning medium, 3 of the utmost importance.
I would definitely say 3. Every designer or artist's work is his own, and they should be cited accordingly for it.
Does your company have its own ethics code?
We do not, but in our marketing profession, there are codes of ethics, and in my professional group, they have a national code of ethics, which I have right here.
Show it again. Do slow motion, like. Say that whole thing and hold that ethics book up.
This is the American Institute of Graphic Arts Ethics Standards Manual, and every designer gets a copy as they are entered into the organization, and it's our Bible. Good?
Hold it one hand. You look really doofy holding it 2 hands.
This is the AIGA, the American Institute of Graphic Arts Ethics Manual.
Works good.
Good?
Good.
Let's use that in my intro. I think that's good.
And that answers the next question of do you personally, or does your company use the National Code of Ethics for your profession? How often are ethics discussed in the workplace? Let's scroll over that one.
Ethics in the workplace. Oh, I've got another angle on that.
Share with us,
I will.
Mr. Fuyan.
As a nonprofit, we have a lot of private donors, and we all sign a contract not to disclose information about our donors, public or private.
Has there been an incident where that has happened?
No, not to my knowledge.
What would be the ramifications if that did happen?
Probably a myriad of legal issues. I don't know.
Now, when they're private donors, why would they want not to be recognized? What would be the reasoning behind that? Because you figure if you do something good for mankind, you'd want a good job or way to go.
I couldn't guess. I guess somewhere from a well-known fan. I really don't know that one.
You can make up with that, but it's great.
I have no idea why they wouldn't want to be known.
Are ethics discussed regularly in your workplace? And ethics is a long stretch. You can talk from being honest to,
yeah.
I guess, in a weird way, what is it when someone hits on you at the workplace? Technically, that could fall into ethics too. Do you, as a workplace, have meetings or discuss it often, or is it rare? Or do you just have the right combination here where it's just understood, blah de blah. And you can tell whatever it is you want to tell, but when you tell you,
Yes. It's fairly rare for that to be brought up, aside from the marketing side, citing work and work done, and our donor it's fairly rare in my in my position, unless donor confidentiality comes up or the marketing side, citing work.
On a scale of 1 to 3, same way before. 1's little importance, 2's important, 3's the highest importance. How important are ethics in building a successful career?
They're absolutely important, especially in my line of work. Your reputation is okay. It's especially important in my line of work. Your reputation is very important. You work with illustrators, designers, photographers, and word of mouth gets around, and it's very important to have that.
How do you feel an individual who may not cite sources or take work that isn't his own as his own, how do you think his career is set up, or how
Impacted?
Yeah,
Oh, I've got some examples for that.
knock it out
Okay.
of the ballpark.
Oftentimes when, in the design world, when a design is blatantly copied or stolen, it's publicly ridiculed. In some magazines they'll print it and have the original design next to it, so it's pretty brutal.
What happens to the individual besides public humiliation?
Oftentimes there aren't legal ramifications.
Unless there's money made, correct? If someone makes a lot of money off someone else's design, wouldn't you think the original?
Well, that's kind of hard to pin down. I mean, I guess you have some hard numbers from increases of sales, but I can't tell you any court cases where
Well, I don't need court cases.
it's happened.
Have you ever known an individual to copy work?
Yeah.
Tell us about that individual.
Okay.
And names aren't important.
It's not firsthand either.
That's all right.
It wasn't firsthand, but there was a student it wasn't firsthand, but there was a student when I was attending the university that had copied some work, and it was for a class assignment. There was some embarrassment, and it was generally unpleasant for the student.
All right, the next question is, do financial or technological pressures affect your ability or your professional ability to produce great work and maintain high ethical standards? So I guess this would be more of a competition. I know being
Oh, I got a good one for this.
a nonprofit, you have less stress as far as competitor.
Right.
But there are a lot of talented people in the world, and if you are not doing the best that you can